You are likely watching this because you care about the challenging problems shaping our world and future, no matter who you are and what you believe in. At Want to Know, we're all about cutting through the noise to shed light on the core issues that bring us together and that create a common ground. Because how can we even safeguard democracy and restore the greater good if we're not addressing the most fundamental barrier in our way? The polarization poisoning our conversations. Welcome to our Mindful News Brief, where we explore the news with nuance, uncensored investigation, and compassion for all sides. The culture wars have generated ferocious arguments, yet very little clarity about what we are to do about what's really going on. A study by Princeton University found that the US is not a democracy, but an oligarchy dominated by the rich and powerful elite. Big oil, big agriculture, big food, and big pharma have wreaked havoc on our health and environment. Instead of tech being used for good, big tech is working with our government to erase personal privacy, suppress free speech, and make war more lethal and dehumanizing than it already is. While the mainstream is busy obsessing over tired old partisan talking points, the real game is rigged. Corporate giants have taken over our society, and every administration, no matter the party, is letting a massive wealth transfer happen right under our noses. Both the blue and the red parties serve the money party oligarchy first, before the common good. The raging culture wars are tools used by the powerful to corrupt the media and silence real and authentic dialogue, resulting in all of us endlessly fighting and blaming each other. When Nigeria's government didn't do anything about the country's stark inequality, nationwide protests united Nigerians across religious and ethnic lines. The National Secretary of the Initiative for a Better and Brighter Nigeria observed that if there is hunger in the land, the hunger that the Christian is feeling is not different from the hunger that the Muslim is feeling. In the US, we're all feeling the cost of economic inequality and a broken for-profit healthcare system. No matter what political side you identify with, your taxpayer dollars are misused due to waste, fraud, and abuse. Our foreign policy has destabilized countries all over the world, worsening the border crisis, manufacturing terrorists, and undermining our national reputation. Journalist and author Batia Ungar Sargon traveled across the country engaging with everyday people, only to discover deep consensus on the most important issues between working-class Democrats and working-class Republicans. Research in Poland found that people from across the political spectrum feel much more empathy and openness to dialogue on abortion than their elected leaders do. Imagine if we radically shifted our conversations to frame every issue or topic in ways that bring us all together and highlight our common values. Conversations that counteract the type of polarizing us versus them language that fuel political violence. Loretta Ross is a healthy response to a society seemingly incapable of solving its problems. She's a college professor and social justice activist who lived through COINTELPRO, a secret FBI program that sought to destroy lives, ruin reputations, and disrupt socially progressive organizations that challenged establishment interests. Over the years, she's helped unravel cycles of hate and violence by building unexpected yet transformative relationships with KKK members and incarcerated men convicted of serious crimes against women. In response to the growing polarization in our society, she once said, "If you're more wedded to destabilizing than unifying, part of me is going to think you're naive, and the other part of me is going to think you're a plant, and neither one of those is going to look good on you." We hold the power to heal the polarization poisoning our conversations. Norway's response to intense polarization offers meaningful lessons for people across the political spectrum. As fascism rose in Germany, Norway's economic elites sought to align the country with the Nazi agenda. Instead, Norway broke through to a social democracy that became increasingly ungovernable by the economic elite. A grassroots movement of farmers, workers, and middle-class allies organized nonviolent campaigns consisting of strikes, boycotts, demonstrations, and occupations. The movement established a robust network of co-ops, alternative economic structures that proved to be more effective than government solutions. They shut down the extremes on both the left and right, while inviting everyone, no matter their views, to participate in collective action. This approach contrasted with Germany, where violent divisions and chaos on the streets resulted in the population relying on authoritarian measures to prevent further violence. This meant accepting the elite's choice of Hitler to bring law and order. A wave of local democracy is sweeping across Europe through public assemblies where communities come together to address issues without political interference. These assemblies offer a way to reimagine decision-making processes and for people to move beyond the ideologies that keep us divided and distracted from what we all have in common. Taiwanese government officials once worked with the decentralized civic tech community to address the increasing political division in their country. Their question was, how do we find a way not to measure division, but construct consensus? This question gave birth to a social media platform that hosted online spaces for debate, where comments that were consensus-oriented got the most visibility, and politicians could listen and take into account the voices of the people when they casted their votes. And what they found was that within a few weeks, they could clearly identify where most people agree on many different issues. This process created outcomes the government could actually act on. Dozens of laws have now been passed based on what they found through this process. The mutual recognition of the threats facing our nation and the larger world can inspire us to broaden our views and our social circles. In our conversations and interactions, we can begin noticing where we fall into dualistic thinking, like either or, us versus them, left and right, and do our best to relax our fears and get curious. We can bring our focus back to the collective and democratic values that bring us all together, values that are less about politics and more about helping each other thrive. If enough people take the risk to relate to each other differently, to take the dehumanization and the partisan charge out of our interactions and not see each other as enemies, we just might create new connections and choices we couldn't see before. If you want to explore the importance of healing the culture wars one conscious conversation at a time, tune into the link below. We can't shift the chaos we're in until we name it. When we can recognize what's really pushing us in our personal lives and as a society, we already have a degree of freedom from it. Challenging information can paradoxically remind us of the greater good. It is the courage of the people and the love for the common good that bring these injustices to light, fueling open dialogue and constructive action. We'd love to hear from you with the thought or a question you have in the comments. And if this video resonated with you, share this widely. We're all in this together.